Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue our discussion on Vampire the Masquerade. When we're talking about Vampire, I did want to bring in some more of the concepts and talking about the various different things you're going to deal with as your character. The next one is a very interesting one, Golconda. Golconda is something your character will more than likely never achieve. A good storyteller will more than likely not allow you to reach Golconda. Golconda is a state in which you have basically controlled the beast and removed your need to frenzy. You basically have reached acceptance of the beast within you and now have full control over it. Reaching this state is a kind of culmination of conscious and remorse, where you begin to understand the actions that you've taken, understand what you've become, and sort of accept them. And it takes a lot of time and patience, and the process of it is not easy, and upon reaching it, you reach Golconda. Now, Golconda, in order to reach this sort of level of enlightenment, which of course, as I said, is fairly unreachable, so it's not impossible, and if your storyline revolves around your characters reaching that, then that's fine. But as just players in a normal game, probably forget it. But digress a little bit. The quest involves first you learning about it. You have to know that Golconda exists. If you don't, you can't follow that path. Once you do, then you have to seek out an elder or some other sort of sage-type character that can teach you about it. You have to then convince them to take you under their wing and begin to teach you the ways of Golconda. And it is a process of learning it and being under their tutelage, and it takes a, it doesn't make for great role-playing to be on this quest necessarily. You can alter the quest as much as you want if you are doing sort of a story quest around it to make it your story. But an individual character doing it, it just doesn't really work so well, hence why not recommended. Now, there are some requirements that you have to have as your character. You have to have a humanity of at least 7, a conscious of at least 4, and then in the course of your training, you have to be able to spend 15 points of willpower. 15. Minimum. That is the least amount that has to be spent. It could be anything above there, but you need to at least be able to spend 15, which means you have to be gaining willpower back in order to do this, because normally you can only spend 10 at most. Now, Golconda does give you some advantages once you've reached it. If you have actually reached this state of enlightenment, you no longer frenzy. You no longer have to worry about frenzying. It's completely under control. That's the main bonus. You don't have to worry about going into a frenzy if you see sunlight or fire either. You don't have to worry about it doing it if you're low on blood. You just don't frenzy. Now, the other advantage is you use less blood to survive. Normally, you have to use 1 blood point per day to basically wake up and be functioning vampire. If you have Golconda, you only need 1 a week. Much less blood. And this is more mild because most of the time when you're using a lot of blood, it's going to be using your disciplines. It's going to be healing. These are major things you're probably using blood on a lot more than I have to wake up the next day. Granted, it can be a little annoying for the I have to wake up the next day, but it happens. Now, there are rumors of more uses of it. Some say that people that have reached Golconda, they aren't limited by their generation to see how powerful you can get at disciplines and other abilities. These are rumors, and again, it will be up to your storyteller how they reflect that. But let's move on to talking about your health. Vampires, like everything, have levels of health. There are levels of health to everything. Everything can take injury. When something attacks you and it gets a number of successes, that's a number of health subtracted from your total health chart, the little chart that is in the bottom of your book, the number of levels you get. For each level you take, you check it off, meaning you've taken a damage there. This can give you penalties to your dice pool as you get more and more injured. When you reach incapacitated, you're down for the count. Now, at any point in time, as a vampire, you can spend blood to heal, because you don't heal naturally. A mortal will heal naturally over time. Vampires do not. You need to spend blood to heal. If you're out of blood and incapacitated, you're really in a bad shape. If you're in some place where sunlight may show up, you're probably dead, because when sunrise comes, you're dead. You can't do anything about it. On the other hand, if you're not given blood and allowed to basically sit there you will enter torpor, which I will talk about later, but that's basically you're going to sleep for a long period of time. You're incapacitated, no blood, torpor. Not a pleasant thing for you to have. Now, if you're incapacitated and take damage, you lose blood points. That's what the damage becomes then. So you start losing blood points. So if you had a lot of blood points, you become incapacitated, you might not have a chance to heal if someone starts beating on your corpse. And it's always one level of health recovered for every 1 blood. Now, most of the time you have to take some time, you have to be like in a resting position to heal. But you could heal under like situations where you're doing other things, where you're being very active. You have to make a stamina plus survival roll. Failure means you use the blood point, you don't heal. Botching means you take another point of damage. Ouch! Now let's talk about another kind of damage that you might accrue. Aggravated damage. Sunlight, fire, and the claws and teeth of other undead or other supernatural creatures deal aggravated damage. Aggravated damage need blood and time to heal. You don't heal them just with a little bit of blood over, a quick number of seconds. No, it takes a lot to heal it. For every day you rest, you have to spend 5 blood points and you heal 1 level of aggravated. So 5 blood points, 1 day of rest, 1 aggravated. Now you can heal more than 1 aggravated in a day. You have to spend 5 more blood points for every point you additionally heal and 1 willpower. And you can keep doing this. Now, if you want to mark on your sheet an aggravated damage, mark it with an X instead of a check. That's how you keep track of it on your little boxes. Now, as a vampire, you still face final death. That's your dying again. You can only come back as a vampire 1 time. So if I should die again, it's final death. The easiest way to do this is if I'm incapacitated and I take a aggravated damage, final death. This can be sunlight, fire, anything. So if I'm incapacitated, final aggravated damage, it kills me. The other way would of course be to, if another vampire sucked you dry, final death. Now there are some other things which can cause you to die again. There's pressure, there's deep sea pressure, explosions, vampire diseases, and decapitation can all kill your vampire. Your storyteller will more than likely sort of ignore the basic rules of it. It's it's very more that these things will cause enough damage to your body to actually kill you rather than the exact stats of them killing you. So your storyteller is going to explain in-game how they're going to function to you rather than you just roll stuff out, because it doesn't work quite the same. That these things could just kill you because they do enough damage to your body. Deep pressure crushes you too much. Explosions tear your body to pieces. Decapitation, you don't have a head anymore. The vampire diseases are going to rip your body apart because they're supernatural diseases. But let's briefly mention mortals. Mortal death, mortal injury. Mortals have all the same injuries as you. They take time to heal. There's a chart in the book that tells you how much time it takes for a mortal to heal with certain injuries. If a mortal gets any kind of crippled or lower injury, they need medical attention to heal this. They need medical attention, and they're oftentimes going to get permanent damage to their body. It's going to be permanent damage to their physical statistics. Mortals die when they reach incapacitated. They only need 1 more damage to die permanently. That's it. They're in the worst shape. There's no saving them at that point in time. If they're incapacitated, they could still live through it. Possibly. Now, when a mortal is dying, the only way to basically save them is to embrace them to be a vampire. You can do this right away. You can actually do this up to 5 minutes after the person has died. You can still make them into a vampire. So they could be dead for a little time and still become a vampire. It's just 5 minutes, and that's it. So that's it for today. I talked about Golconda. I talked about your injury to you as a vampire and how you heal it. I talked about aggravated wounds and healing that. I talked about dying in vampire. And I talked a little bit about mortals, because that's going to come up. You're going to deal with mortals and their injuries and possible death. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments. Please like this video. It shows your support for the channel, for the Empire, for the work I do. Please subscribe if you already have it. We're always looking for more members, more citizens of the Empire. And please, share this video. If you know anybody that would learn from it, or would just enjoy watching it, please share it with them. And until the next time, I bid you farewell.